Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a really smart knowledge-sharing project today.
Hmm.
It kicks off with these two students, Kesser and Steen. They did this required deep dive for a course, Nature and Innovation.
Right, Tante Grun's course.
Exactly. And their report, it meticulously detailed the whole process of fermenting apple cider vinegar.
As far their teacher
And,
equal.
and then he realized pretty quickly, didn't they? This wasn't just homework.
No, not at all. It was basically a comprehensive guide.
Yeah.
Way too good to just sit on a hard drive somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, their work on ACV fermentation, everything from picking apples to sorting out problems, that's super valuable stuff.
Yeah, gold for anyone interested in home brewing or cider, wine, vinegar, that kind of hands-on, detailed knowledge.
Precisely.
So their mission, it sort of shifted. They decided to turn that static report into something living, dynamic, an interactive fermentation handbook.
And that's where NotebookLM comes in. It's the tool they picked for this pivot.
It's a fantastic example, really. It is. It shows perfectly how you can maximize the value of research you've already done. They're not starting over.
No.
They're using these advanced tools to synthesize their specific knowledge, making it instantly usable, highly relevant.
So if you, listening, have maybe binders full of notes or old research-gathering digital dust.
Yeah, this is kind of a blueprint. It shows you a secure way to turn all that into a Q&A resource people can actually use.
And that's our goal today, really, to show
Yeah.
you exactly how they manage that balance, sharing their passion, their expertise, but keeping control over their original work. Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts then. The core idea is turning these private documents into a public guide, right? An expert people can talk to.
Mhm.
How did Kesser and Steen actually, build the foundation for this interactive handbook?
Well, it starts pretty simply. You create a new NotebookLM project. Think of it like their private digital library space.
Okay.
And then they upload everything.
Yeah.
Every single relevant piece of source material goes in. Their original texts on the vinegar, photos they took,
Videos, maybe.
notes.
Note.
Exactly. Transcripts, video files, troubleshooting, guides, anything that contributes to that handbook knowledge.
So they just feed all the fermentation stuff into this one project, and then NotebookLM does its thing.
Yeah.
Starts indexing.
Precisely. The system processes all those different files, text, image data, maybe audio transcripts, and it builds this unified knowledge graph underneath.
Ah,
And
right.
that's where the magic of natural language access kicks in. A user doesn't need to sift through a 50-page report hunting for keywords.
Right. So instead of searching a database, it feels more like you're talking to the documents.
Yeah.
To their combined knowledge.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
A beginner could ask something quite complex conversational like, how do I actually start the fermentation for apple cider vinegar?
Or maybe something like, what problems might pop up when the mother is forming, and how do I fix them fast?
Exactly. And the answer they get back isn't some generic web search result.
No.
It's tailored, pulled directly from Kesser and Steen's own uploaded stuff. It even cites where in their original work the answer came from.
That specificity must be key.
It's vital. Let's say they had two slightly different notes. One mentions temperature in Celsius, another in Fahrenheit. The AI can cross-reference those and synthesize the best answer based only on their files.
That's incredibly useful for newcomers, I bet. Imagine getting a quick summary of a really long technical section, like yeast management or something.
Oh, absolutely. Summaries, overviews of key steps.
Yeah.
It makes complex information much more digestible.
Now, the source material did make a point about needing certain features active for this level of synthesis. You need the advanced language processing, right?
Yeah, that's the engine behind it. That's what allows the AI to really understand and connect all those different documents, not just match keywords.
Gotcha. It lets them deliver that really custom-tailored advice based on their specific methods.
Exactly. Okay, so this brings us to a really critical point, especially for students sharing work or anyone with proprietary info. How do you share your expertise without just giving away your documents?
Yeah, that's the tension, isn't it? If Kesser and Steen just put their report on a public drive, anyone could copy it, download it, pass it off as their own.
Right.
So how does NotebookLM get around that intellectual property issue?
It's actually a pretty elegant solution. It's based on separation. When they share the project, what they're sharing is the notebook file.
The Q&A interface, the thing the user interacts with.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial, they're not sharing the original source documents themselves.
Hold on. So if I ask a question about, say, Apple storage, and I get this detailed answer, what stops me from just copying that answer? How secure is the underlying IP, really?
That's a fair question. The original files, The full report, the detailed notes, the video scripts, they stay locked down on Kesser and Steen's private Google Drive.
Okay.
So while the answer NotebookLM generates is based on their work, the user never gets access to the actual file. They can't see the structure, the layout, the full context of those original documents.
Ah, I see. So you're sharing the knowledge in this Q&A format.
Yes.
But not the container, the actual report file.
Precisely. The knowledge is only accessible as these summarized, generated answers. They keep full ownership and control over their original research.
That makes sense. It's a way to share the findings, the passion, without exposing the raw files to being copied or downloaded.
It's the core protection. It's seamless for the user, but protective for the creator.
Now, speaking of seamless language, the sources mentioned a potential hiccup with mixing languages inside the notebook.
Yes, that's really important for accuracy. The system works best when the source documents and the questions users ask are mostly in the same language.
So Kesser and Steen's work is mainly in Danish.
Right. So if they uploaded, say, an English transcript from a YouTube video alongside all their Danish notes,
The AI might get confused.
it could. It might synthesize answers that are inaccurate or kind of a weird mix of languages, especially if asked a question in Danish.
Okay, so even though AI is pretty good with languages generally,
For something this specific, this precise, like a handbook, the recommendation is clear. Stick to one language if you can. If they have English sources, they should translate them to Danish first, before uploading.
right, to maintain that integrity and context within the final Q&A handbook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keeps everything consistent. You know, the big drawback of that original school report, the day after they handed it in, it was frozen in time.
Static, yeah. If they learned a new technique the next week.
The report was already outdated. The NotebookLM Handbook totally fixes that.
This is the living handbook idea, right? So let's say they do a new experiment. They figure out a better way to store the finished vinegar long term. They write up a new document.
They just upload that new text file to their existing notebook project. That's literally it.
Seriously?
Yeah. NotebookLM automatically reads it, processes it, and incorporates that new knowledge into its Q&A capability, usually pretty quickly, maybe within minutes.
Wow. So they don't need to redesign anything or republish? Just keep feeding it new info.
Keep feeding the beast. It just grows and evolves with their expertise. The resource gets more and more valuable over time.
Okay, that's powerful. But then how do they actually get this living handbook out to people? You'd think maybe you could just embed a little question box on a website or a blog.
Yeah, you might think that, but unfortunately, the platform isn't really set up for direct embedding of that query box onto external sites. It's designed to be used within its own interface.
Okay, so no simple embed code. What's the strategy then?
The strategy is sharing a direct link, a link to the finished NotebookLM file itself.
Got it. So their call to action needs to point people there. Maybe they write a little blog post about their fermentation project.
And then they stick in a link with a clear prompt. Something like, got questions about making vinegar? Click here to ask our fermentation expert.
And that link takes users straight to the custom Q&A interface they built in NotebookLM.
That's the method, direct link access. Now, sharing publicly, especially when you've got younger creators like Kesser and Steen, it brings up the need for, well, protection.
Definitely. When you put detailed work out there, you open the door to all sorts of feedback, not always helpful or even appropriate.
Exactly. So we need to talk about how they can share this awesome resource without getting overwhelmed or facing undue pressure.
Yeah, that pressure to reply instantly or dealing with weird comments, that can really kill the fun of a project like this.
For sure. So the sources point to a couple of main solutions. The simplest, most contained one is what you might call passive sharing. Meaning they just share the link privately, only with their teacher, Ms. Green. She can then choose to share it within a trusted circle, maybe just the class or a small school club.
So it never really hits the wide open internet, keeps it very controlled.
Right. Avoids the public eye completely.
Oh, okay. But what if they do want a wider audience? They want genuine feedback from other enthusiasts.
Then the safest model, the best practice really, involves using an adult as a sort of intermediary mailbox, a buffer.
Like their teacher again, Miss Green, or another trusted adult.
Yeah. That person acts as the central point. All questions, all comments about the handbook get sent to her first. She collects them, maybe filters them.
And then passes the relevant stuff on to Kesser and Steen when they're ready to look at it.
Exactly. When they have the time and headspace to engage.
Okay, what are the big wins with setting up a filter like that?
3 huge benefits, really. First, Obviously, privacy and protection. The boys don't have to share personal contact details or interact directly with strangers online.
Makes sense.
Second, real estate expectations. Having that adult intermediary clearly signals this isn't some 2047 instant support line. Answers will come when the students are available. Takes off that pressure for immediate replies.
Right. Managing expectations. And the third?
The third, and maybe most critical, is the filter itself.
Yeah.
The adult screens out noise, irrelevant stuff, demanding comments, anything inappropriate. It ensures the boys focus their energy on the good stuff.
Constructive feedback, interesting fermentation challenges.
Keeps it fun and productive for them. Totally. And, if they ever decided to expand, maybe do a video log of their experiments.
Like a visual component.
Yeah. Platforms like YouTube actually have built-in tools for this, too. They could set comments to require manual approval.
So they'd still see all the suggestions privately.
But only make the relevant, useful questions visible publicly.
Oh.
Again, it helps control the narrative and removes that public pressure to respond to everything immediately. #outro.
This has been a really fascinating look at knowledge translation, hasn't it? Kesser and Steen, they didn't just write a report. They've built something dynamic, secure, an evolving community resource.
Yeah, it's a great case study. They manage that balance perfectly, sharing their passion for fermentation, but keeping tight control over their original work and their own privacy.
It really does hammer home the idea that maybe maybe their usefulness has limits now.
I think so. This kind of secure, accessible knowledge sharing is a bit of a game changer. The details here were about apple cider vinegar, which is itself a complex, dynamic process, right?
Definitely multi-step. So thinking about the listener, what does this all mean for you and maybe your own collections of knowledge?
Yeah, think about it. What complex, specific knowledge do you currently have locked up in static files? Maybe some specialized expertise. Could you turn that into a secure, living, interactive Q&A resource using something like this?
What kind of areas are we talking?
Oh, could be anything highly technical. Maybe local history research that's buried in an old text file somewhere, specialized home maintenance techniques, or perhaps a really detailed guide to growing specific tricky plants.
Things that require real detail.
Exactly. What personal archive could you digitize and share securely? How could you fundamentally change the way people access and apply that kind of detailed, niche knowledge without putting your original work at risk? That's the real potential we've unlocked here, I think.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a really smart knowledge sharing project today. It kicks off with these two students, Kesser and Steen.